started already. We're gonna talk about money today, so stay here. I'll be right back.
Hello world, my name is Wanai, and on my channel I talk about money, investing, self-improvement, and anything that makes your life better. Today I want to talk about 4 savings accounts that your money needs to go. Actually, I want to make it 4.5 because I do want to mention about debt in between your saving accounts. Let's get started. Number 1, emergency fund. If 2020 taught us anything, that would be the importance of having an emergency fund in case of emergency. And this year is the definition of an emergency. We all heard it too often that 60% of Americans cannot afford a $1,000 emergency. A $1,000 bill would push Americans into debt. So we should all work on building an emergency fund for times like this. You don't know when you're gonna find your next job. You might get sick unexpected, or your car breaks down in the middle of the road. With that extra cash buffer, you'll be in a lot better shape than you are today, or force yourself to get into high interest consumer debt. But how much do you need as your emergency fund? There are tons of recommendations out there, but I think it depends on your situation. If your monthly expenses are relatively low, meaning you don't have a house payment, you don't have a car payment, you might be living with your family, you can eat with them, you don't have to pay your own expenses, then 3 months should be okay. But if you do rent or you have a mortgage payment, you have your car payment, I would recommend to go at least 6 months, especially during this time. And here is where I want to make a note of that half point I mentioned at the beginning of the video. If you have high interest consumer debt, for example, your credit card debts, then focus on paying them off while building your emergency fund. I would recommend to follow Dave Ramsey's baby steps to first build a $1,000 emergency fund, and then focusing on paying off your consumer debt. Then build 3 to 6 months emergency fund. Because generally speaking, credit card charges between 18 to 24% interest, and there are no investments out there can generate that kind of return on a consistent base. So if you letting your interest grow, then you're gonna feel like a hamster running on a wheel. You will never be able to catch up or pay off your credit card. Recommendations only work if they work for you. When I was paying off my credit card, after building a $1,000 emergency fund, I did a balance transfer to buy myself a little bit more time. For those of you who are not familiar with balance transfer, it's pretty much transferring your current credit card balance to a different financial institution. And a lot of times they have promotion where they give you 12-month no interest or 18-month no interest. And of course, your eligibility would depend on your personal credit history, your credit score, or other criteria with different financial institutions. You can go do a search online to see who are offering free balance transfer right now. And if you do have a credit card debt, it is a good idea to transfer the balance over to a new financial institution where you have extended period of time for you to pay off that debt. Another thing I want to mention about building your emergency fund is that it is important for you to set up a separate saving account away from your primary checking account, because a lot of times people think it's convenient just use one account to build up your emergency or open a saving account where your checking account is. But in that case, if you leave to yourself to decide if you're gonna keep that money or just transfer $20, $50 to hang out with your friends or buy something that you want but not need, you will never be able to build up your emergency fund. There are a lot of online saving accounts out there that requires 0 minimum balance requirement and 0 monthly maintenance fees. It costs you nothing to set up those saving accounts. And the good thing about those saving accounts are they're convenient, but not convenient enough for you to transfer your money anytime you want for things that are not emergency. And for people who are out there struggling with their emergency fund or paying off their credit card debt, I wanted to tell you that you can do it. I know it's a tough time and we're all struggling in this, but this year I actually was able to pay off my credit card and build up my emergency fund. It's a choice. A lot of times people around me or my friends are saying, you know, I have this expenses, I have that expenses, I have to go my friend's birthday, I have to buy this. You don't have to. You don't have to do anything. Everything happens in life is a choice. And I think one thing that this pandemic brought us is that you have excuses for yourself to stay home, to not spend money. Don't go on those websites. Don't click on those promotional emails. Unsubscribe from those retailers. Don't go on Amazon. You don't have to buy anything. You're fine just as you are. Number 2, retirement account. The best time for you to start a retirement account or just a saving account in general is today. And the second best time? Yes, it's today. A lot of times when I talk to people who are in their early 20s about retirement account, they almost think it's funny that I mentioned the word retirement because it's so far away from them that they think it's ridiculous for them to even think about it. They have a lot more important things to think about, like finding a better job, getting a better apartment, or hanging out with their friends, what to post on their social media. But you have to start early. You have to start now. There are a lot of different types of retirement account that gives you different tax benefits. And I'm not going to go into details about different types of retirements in this video. But if you are lucky enough to have a employer-sponsored 401k, then definitely start there. At least get the match, because with the employer match, it's pretty much free money. So you're getting 100% return on your investment or on your contribution. So there's no reason for you not to contribute to your 401k if you have an employer match. And other than that, you can also open a individual retirement account, also known as IRA. And depends on your tax situation, you can either do a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA. Although there are exceptions where you can take money out of your retirement account, it is important for you to think that money as they're not yours. Don't even think about taking money out of your retirement account. When you have an emergency or things happen in life, that's where you go back to your emergency funds instead of your retirement account, because it might not seem to be a big deal right now when you take money out of your retirement, but one day when you're old, you can't work anymore, you can't make any money anymore, that's the only thing you can rely on. So make sure you leave the retirement account out of your mind. Don't think about taking money out of your retirement account. Number 3, short-term savings. Short-term savings are for things that are going to happen within 1 to 3 years. Things are like buying a new car or moving to a new place or saving up for a vacation or any other big ticket items that you want to buy in the future but you cannot afford at the moment. It is also important to set up separate accounts for each of your goals. Do not mix your short-term savings with your emergency fund, because very quickly you're going to get confused which part of the money is your emergency where you cannot touch at all, or which part of the money is your short-term saving. And typically for short-term savings, we do not recommend you to put your money in investment account. Although in some cases you might get better return in the stock market or other investment account, but you also have higher risk of losing a lot of your money in the market. And because it's short term, you don't have the luxury of wait it out to break even or even make some money out of your investment. So if it's less than 3 years, then make sure your money is liquid and safe. Number 4, long-term saving accounts. Long-term savings are for things that are going to happen in 5 to 10 years. Things like saving a down payment for a house, or if you're planning on going back to school. Typically for those savings, you can put your money in investment account. You can open a brokerage account and automatically deposit money to your investment account. And because you don't need the money in 5 to 10 years, it makes sense for you to let your money grow and generate a better return for the long term. Those are 4 types of saving accounts that your money needs to go to. But before we go, I do want to mention that it is critical for you to set up automatic transfer from your checking account to those saving accounts. Nowadays, it's super easy to set up automatic transfer from checking account to different type of saving or investment accounts. Make sure you don't leave it up to yourself to make that transfer. You might forget about it, or you might just have nothing left in your checking account to transfer to those saving accounts. Also, some employers offer direct deposit for your paycheck. If your employer offers direct deposit, check with them to see if they offer to direct deposit to multiple different accounts. For example, myself, my employer offers direct deposit for up to, I believe, 7 accounts. So I have set up 3 different accounts for my paycheck to get direct deposit into. 30% of my money goes to my saving account automatically. So those money, I'm not gonna see it in my checking account. I won't have access to those money. So it prevents me from buying things that I don't need or just spend the money because it's there. In the future videos, I will talk about how to save more money, spend less money, and different method of budgeting. So stay tuned, subscribe, and give me a thumbs up. See you next time. That I mentioned. I mentioned for like 100 times.
Because worse comes to worse, you eat your parents.
Oh.